For our second big story, we take a critical look into a significant legislative development, which is from Nigeria. Now, the House of Representatives has passed on second reading a bill seeking to amend the Constitution to create additional legislative seats exclusively for women in both the National and State Assemblies. This bill, spearheaded by Deputy Speaker Ben Kalu, and 12 others, has sparked intense debate on the floor with strong arguments both for and against it. Now, here's a bit of summary of how this unfolded. So the bill aims to amend Section 48 and 49 of the Nigerian Constitution to provide special seats reserved exclusively for women in the Senate and House of Representatives for each state and the FCT.
It also seeks to amend Sections 91 to provide 3 special seats for women in each state's House of Assembly, spearhead across the 3 senatorial districts. Now, the bill's proponents argue that it addresses gender inequality in governance, while opponents claim it offends the Constitution's spirit and democratic principles. Joining us now to discuss the implications of this bill are 2 distinguished guests. The first we have is Lara Adesanya, a former gubernatorial aspirant. Also joining via video chat is Ibijoke Faborode. She is the CEO and founder, ElectHer. Welcome to the program, ladies. Thank you for joining.
Yes, indeed. I think that we also do have Louise Alta. She is a creative business executive, and she also did run for office at one time, and she also joins us via video chat. So welcome, ladies, and thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me start off with this. Your reaction to the bill. Is it a yay? Or
oh, it is yeah. It is yeah because you know over time, lip service has been paid to this. So it's a huge thing that the government has decided to actualize this bill because it's going to give women more say into whatever is decided in the development of the nation. So I believe that is a huge one. And women who have been wanting to contribute, you know, to the society, to the development of a society, will definitely have their way to move this nation forward.
Right. We have joining us on video chat, if we can just, we do have Louis and Alta as well as Ibijoke on video chat as well. You just talked about your experience, your political experience, or rather your take on this new bill. But I also would like to talk about your experience running for office during your time. I understand that you're a former gubernatorial as aspirant for Lagos State.
Lagos State.
What was your experience like running, you know, for office?
Wow. I was never into politics.
Okay.
After retiring from my work, I decided that, you know, there's so many things that needs to be shaped right in Nigeria. And I felt I had the capability to do that. But I never knew what I was going into because it's not a terrain that you can just walk into believing that because you have integrity or because you know one thing or the other, you can be there. Yes, I went to so many areas in Lagos State, even places I've never been before in my life. But if you want to make an impact, then you have to get there. And I realized that people were really thirsty for the right things to be done. But honestly, they were all asking for money, which I never had. And I always assure them that, look, things will be done rightly. But giving you money or giving you goods is not in my agenda. So that was, they would tell you to your face that, look, we know you can do it. We know even the way you speak, you can do it. But if this thing is not there, forget it.
So it was more transactional. It was monetized heavily.
It was more transactional. It was, and I was scared because I knew that if you don't have the money, there's no way for you.
I mean, let's leave you for a moment. Let's go to Ibijoke on this one. Now, during the debate in the House, there were strong arguments both for and against the bill. Now, what, of course, is your take on this? I mean, in the course of the week, I even had conversations, on some program where I interviewed women who, one in particular said, why would you create special seats for women if you are talking about equality? Let's just, go into it and, leave the platform open. What men can do, women can do better. So, Ibijoke, what's your take?
Well, thank you very much. I think, first of all, I want to acknowledge the former gubernatorial aspirant who is on the program today, and just say thank you for deciding to run. In the terrain like this, it's really, really difficult for women to run because there's systemic barriers that essentially just set you up for failure. They call the invisible barriers. But again, going to the question that you asked, I think it's important to unbundle what the issues are. And also understand that there's a fundamental lack of understanding when it comes to the concept of equity versus the concept of equality. I think it's not a male-female conversation. So yes, you would have men and women, react to these. And because of the lack of fundamental understanding, you get people that twist what this conversation really is. So let me set some context into this. First of all, the additional seats bill is not about women. It's about socioeconomic progression and national development. And the reason is because the head cannot function without the neck. We cannot continue as a society to treat the symptoms and not the root cause. Now, the opposing conversation around, this bill not being constitutional is a bit unfortunate because there are systemic barriers that we need to tackle. The bill is a form of temporary special measure, and temporary special measures are a form of legal framework, you understand, to tackle persistent barriers that are that are limiting equitable representation in a space. So one of the issues that I think that we need to understand is that people have an issue with the framing, right, of this bill, which is around women, and I think that that's the mistake we are making. Perhaps the sponsors of the bill need to consider a more gender-neutral framing, in the sense that at any point in time, when any gender experiences discrimination at the National Assembly, then this bill will serve the purpose. So again, to address, what they're actually flagging, then this bill could serve men and women. So I think for me, people need to understand that it is because the issue we're tackling is persistent, it's been lingering, several measures. It's a national gender policy in the country, but because it is a policy framework, partners, stakeholders, political parties, the executive essentially are not mandated to follow it. So when you do not have institutional legal frameworks like this, what you have is a concept of tokenism. And so that's why you're seeing more decision makers comfortable with appointing women rather than electing women. Now, electing women is quite critical because it essentially shapes the policy landscape. So let me give you some statistics that are quite important. At the moment, you have about 132 million people living in poverty. Nigeria currently ranks about 131 out of 190 on the ease of doing business. And then, the country is the fourth most terrorized country in Africa. And then you got lingering and consistent inflation of over 30%. When you have a society that does not function from a holistic perspective, that puts into consideration the structure of the ecosystem, you have issues like this. So when we limit the conversation, I think it's unfortunate that we're limiting the conversation to just a women's issue. It's not a women's issue, it's everyone's issue. It's something that is affecting everyone in Nigeria. And so that's why this conversation is not valid, right? It's not valid, sorry.
Ibijoke, I'm glad you're saying this because we were supposed to have a woman as well who also ran for office, but she's a person living with disability. She's a PWD. And so we're supposed to have we'll try to connect with her through the course of this conversation. But I'm glad you're bringing that conversation up about the fact that there are also other people that are marginalized, and sometimes being gender neutral is important to put it there. So it could be a person living with disability, and given how polarized our nation is, when you say gender neutral, some set of connotations comes to mind. But let me just quickly ask you about your work across Africa that promotes women's inclusion, ElectHer. So, I mean, from your experience, how does Nigeria compare to other African countries in terms of, gender representation in governance? I mean, we've seen other African states that already have a female president as well. Do we have a long way to go when it even comes to that? I mean, we can't even start with local government chairmen or even state governors. Let's hear from you.
I cannot begin to contextualize, these issues. First of all, it's important to know that Nigeria ranks lowest on the representation of women across any parliament in Africa. For a country that, boasts of the highest population and one of the largest economies, this is a huge problem, and that's why we're where we are today. So this is an urgent problem that affects everyone. So we're not doing well, and that's just the fact, because data shows that. But speaking to other African countries, every African country that has achieved some form of feat when it comes to women's representation in elective office has done that through legal considerations, right, affecting legislated quotas, because they understand, and any country in the world as well, the Nordic countries, if you look at the Nordic countries, they have legislated quotas, and that's why you see them have very strong social infrastructures that cater to men, women, and vulnerable groups in society. Other African countries, from the north to the south, to the east, even down the west here, they have all instituted either legislative quotas at the political party level, at the candidacy level, or at the level. And this is quite important because we understand that temporary special measures are limited in tenure, but they are meant to actually address immediate challenges that undermine the principles of democratic governance in any country. Now, to speak to what you said around persons who living with disability that might have some form of reservations with the bill. Now, this is what I say. When you talk about gender considers everyone, right? When you talk about women, it's not just women as women that are physically able. You're talking about women that are marginalized, women that, amongst vulnerable groups, persons living with disability as well. So at the end of the day, this is a blanket piece of legislation that affects everyone. So the gender neutrality is meant to cater to, all those different groups as well. So I think that it's important for us not to miss the point and very important of this legislation. Yeah.
All right, Ibijoke, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Mrs. Adesanya on this one. Now, you talked about finance,
Yes.
Being one of the challenges you experienced, when you decided to run for office. And you are not the first person who echoed this or that I've heard it from this week. In an interview I also conducted, that was, an issue that the lady, particularly nibbled on. But I'd like you to speak more on that and how you feel that can be, solved. And also in tandem with the fact that some oppositions have actually argued that the bill contradicts democratic principles and the spirit of the Constitution. Now, particularly when it comes to the issue of meritocracy, as against, because this person is a lady,
we're going to give her a seat.
Let's give her a seat.
For the sake of inclusivity.
You see, women carry a lot of capacity, and women have tenacity, and women, they are always ready. Women are very dedicated in whatever they do. I mean, if not men with wives, they can, give their homes to their wives and they have peace of mind and all that. So women have this, this capacity to do the best for the nation. Are we talking of meritocracy or democracy? Look, when these seats are shared in the manner they're supposed, then there's no problem. Because what we're looking at is, the essence of the contribution that the women are going to make. They have ideas, they have creativity, but if you don't give them the platform to do that, I mean, how do you see what they carry? How do you see look, we have women like Ikwesili, we have women like Okonjo-Iweala, we have women like Mrs. Awoshika, who was the former chair. Look, they had a lot to contribute, but if you don't give them the leeway to do that, how do you know they can do their best?
And the barriers that women face in politics alone and just trying to run for office doesn't even make it easier, does it?
You see, I see the barrier as a problem of the society, because it's how the society view women. That is how they will relate with them. Because if they view women, if they don't see them as backbenchers or backburners, that women are just to work on the produce of the men, but they are decision makers, then you can see that when they are front burners, there are a lot they can do. There are a lot of contribution they can make to the society. Because I'm sure that our nation will have been different if you have women in charge. Yes, we have one or two of them that didn't meet up, but that's not enough. I mean, in millions of women, you just have about 4 or 5 in government, and you believe that overnight you might not have one bad egg. But I believe that when the society see women, that they're not just sitting down, sitting back just to take orders or to contribute to what has been given to them, the produce from the men, but they are part of decision makers, a lot will happen in the
All right. I'm forced to ask. This might just seem like a naughty question, but I'll ask it. Let's leave the men aside. Do women really support women?
No. Oh, no. I had issues with that. The people that confronted me were women. They would tell you, I know you can do it. I know you have the capacity, but I don't want to waste my vote. I'd rather give my vote to somebody that I know is likely to win. And that's quite bad.
But because men also face that as well.
Yeah, but look, we women are very few. We're very few. So if a woman has this, it's not easy coming out. And if a woman comes out and says, this thing I want to try, not necessarily that she might win, but she wants to try. I'll give you an example. My deputy is a Muslim, and we went somewhere in Ikorodu, and he organized the Muslim clerics, for me to speak to them. When I finished, they were shocked and surprised. They said, wow, there's a woman like this that can do something for this society. I said, it's not the money. I'm here to serve. And when you're a servant, when you're serving, you're going to give everything to your state. And honestly, the number of votes I had in that place from people I don't know, wow, it was much, and I was surprised. Not from my own constituency. Even where I voted for, I waited till the end and I didn't have more than 3 votes. Meanwhile, I saw about 20, 30 people I knew there. So it's a problem. Women don't vote for themselves. I think we have to change that scenario.
Okay, I think I'd also like to ask Ibijoke the same question.
Ibijoke is a woman that is supporting women.
Can you, I believe you can hear me. Do women truly support women?
No.
I'm going to look at this from another lens. I think men need to stop asking that question. I find it very offensive, and people need to stop asking that question. Politics is politics. Politics is a game of self-interest and alignment.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a question that is weaponized against women. There are men that oppose other men as well. I do agree with you that we have a long way to go in educating society, in helping fellow women understand why why agency, collaboration, and community is important. And it's a function of the construct of society, how we were raised, what we know to be true, what we believe, the models we have, the way we see leadership, the visualization of leadership that we have, So I would tell you something. I run an organization that is focused on gender and inclusion. And during the 2023 election, we supported in Parliament, today. We cannot say that we're responsible solely for them, but we were part of the infrastructure of women that supported them. We had the likes of Chimamanda Adichie, Whisker. We had a fundraising event for this woman and we raised the money. It was not easy, but we went, look, things will change over time when we start normalizing this conversation. But I think that I don't want us to diminish or take away from what is going on. It's a conversation of human beings not supporting human beings. It's not a conversation of women not supporting women. In the political space, you don't have permanent enemies, you understand? You have common interest. And that's why you see people moving from parties to parties, aligning and realigning every day. The men do not support the men as well. So why are we so quick to label things when it comes to women? It's not personal.
I'm sorry, Ibijoke. I'm not labeling.
No
maybe.
No, so it's not you.
There.
It's a general, okay. I'm talking about the general disposition to things like this. And I think for me, I am very quick to ensure that with platforms like this, we can educate people and disabuse such questions. It is not a valid question. Men do not support men as well. Men in power mess up every time. But when women are in power and women, when there's a certain pattern with women, we tend to label them. So it's not about you. I think for me, it's still the social, the social construct that we have about women. So I don't want us to focus on that question because again, it takes away from the validity of the question that we have. We would always have people oppose us. And yes, it can be very painful. And look, I can understand what, if I can call you an excellency, saying because you ran for the IS office in Lagos State, I can understand that it can be heartbreaking when your gender are not supporting you. But it happens to men as well, and so I don't want us to think that it's a conversation of women do not support women. We have so many women that opposed, the work that we did as an organization, but I don't take it personal. I'm like, oh, wow. Society needs to evolve. We need to educate women to understand that it is not us against us.
Ibijoke, we're losing your network there. Ibijoke, I need to quickly introduce our second guest, Lewis Alter. She joins us live now via video chat as well. Lewis, thank you so much for coming. Lois, there we go. Lois, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you for doing this with us. Ibijoke, we lost you there for a second. But I'm glad this conversation is being had, right? Because, and I'm glad, we're able to iron this thing out in terms of the connotation that we have societally, right? And that question was posed, so that we could get both varying points. And I'm glad that you were able to iron that out. But moving forward and moving ahead away from this, right? Let's look at, the bill and ask just for once and for all. We are trying, when you look at the last election cycle, right, and the one pyre, we've seen women, the participation of women or the inclusion of women, especially at the legislative, drop significantly, and the women that are there are mostly from the opposition side, right, whether Labour Party, whether PDP, and so it asks the question, is this a welcome, can this cement inclusion going into the next election cycle for 2027? I'm going to start with Lois, who just joined us now.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lois.
Yeah, my name is Lois Alter. I'm the president of Network of Women with Disabilities. And I ran for office twice.
That's good.
In Abuja and in Kaduna. I'm a woman in a wheelchair. I was affected by polio when I was 2 years old. I'm 44 years right now. And to the glory of God, He used me in many perspectives. He used me to work on inclusion of women with disabilities. The first woman with disability that ran for the office of House of Representatives in the FCT. Yes, I lost the vote, but I have won the process in different perspectives. Over 4,080 candidates.
Voted.
I was the only woman with disability. The level of participation of women with disabilities in politics is abysmally low. It is sad. As it is right now, for women with disabilities, we are at a 0% level of participation. If we could have Senator Asike in Kenya, a 33 young, visually impaired senator in Kenya, what is Nigeria doing? Nigeria is joking. Nigeria is joking.
And so I ask again,
Lois,
so I ask again, with this bill, can it cement, is this a welcome development? Can it cement women participation, especially at the legislative arm, which is tasked with the responsibility of creating law for our nation?
Yes, I am glad to answer this question, because 2 days ago, we participated in a very unique program organized by UN Women. It's all about coordination and strategy meeting on affirmative action reforms to increase women's participation representation in the ongoing constitution review process. Yes, 74 seats are being reserved for women. What about women with disabilities? I must say this. It's very important.
All right.
If we can divide this number for women from the traditional angle, from market women, from students, how do we reserve for women with disabilities in politics? Nigeria needs to top up the game in ensuring that every woman is given her right in the political sphere.
Now,
a lot of barriers.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of barriers ranging from ethnicity, religion, language, gender. I am a woman with disability, and the barriers, which could be infrastructural, attitudinal, and institutional. So I'm very happy that we're doing this right now. I hope it scaled through the second reading and the next stage to the executive, and all the process done to the final stage of assenting to the bill to a law.
All right, Lois, I'm going to stay with you on the barriers, right? I want you to maybe state some of the barriers you faced when you ran twice and how you feel these challenges can be addressed.
Okay. In the FCT in 2019, one of the major barriers was infrastructural. I couldn't go to some campaign venues due to the inaccessibility of those areas. Sometimes I had to send my campaign team to those places to be able to talk to the constituents. Another one was language. I could not speak fluently in body language to the people. And some of them challenged me. They said, I come from Kaduna and I came to Abuja to run for office, that I should leave their space and go back to Kaduna and run. So in 2022, I ran in Kaduna State, in Kaura constituency. And when I got to Kaura constituency, I was told, we married you out to Akwa Ibom. What are you doing here?
Wow.
See you could see issue of indigenship and citizenship, which this bill is going to address.
That's the reality.
My recommendation is all the duty bearers, the gatekeepers, the stakeholders should come together and ensure that this 74 extra seats for women come into existence. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's bring it back to the studio. Mrs. Adesanya, I mean, I'm sure that I know that while Lois was speaking, it made you also reflect on maybe some of the challenges that you encountered. But before we wrap it up on this particular segment of the program, moving forward, what do you suggest can be further done to encourage, women in politics?
Women should come out. Women, some of them are, they just believe that nothing will happen. But we should come out. We should join different parties of their choice. And they should speak out. They should make contributions. If they don't make contributions, how would they know that you can do it? So they have to be visible. They have to, there'll be talks maybe on radio, on social media, anything that has issues, things to do with the issues of the nation, please participate. And when you do that, you're recognized. They know who you are. And when you now come out for any position, they are ready to vote for you. But if you're in the background and you're not doing anything, and you're only speaking to your just environs, nowhere to go. And then start in your community. Start making impact. In your environment, start making impact. So when you come out, they are the ones that will say, go on, we support you.
With this new bill, will you run again?
That's a very big question. That's a very, very big question. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'm ready to encourage people and women who are ready to go in there.
Okay. Let's go to Ibijoke. Ibijoke, quickly.
Before you ask, I was going to ask, Lois, with the new bill, would you also run as well? If you sign into law, would you run? Yes or no?
Yes, I will keep running until I win.
And finally, for Ibijoke, you made a significant case for gender equality. And so do you believe that this bill could have a significant impact on the broader push for gender equality in Nigeria if it's passed into law?
Absolutely. It's a bill to promote gender equity. And it's a bill that is going to guarantee 74 extra seats, across the National Assembly. And I know there are also considerations for the State Assembly as well. But, for me, is the larger impact of this bill is beyond, just gender equality. It's around socioeconomic development. And now I think I'm just going to leave us with one reflection. A couple of weeks ago, a major TV station, I'm not going to call the name here so that I'm not calling them out, held a security town hall in a country where most of the internet displaced, persons, a higher percentage are women. On that security summit, there was no woman. I think for me, that helps us to start unbundling the issues and the nuances, of gender exclusion. So we need this to pass, and more bills that are gender-centric to pass, so that we can have a society that is reflective of the people in it, so that our social infrastructure in terms of health and education are prioritized, so that we can start understanding the nuances and start tackling things around rising and persistent inflation. And for me, I would always make a case beyond just women's issue. It is a fundamental human right. It is a case around national and economic development, growth and recovery, economic resilience. And I think that we need to stay on those points going forward. Yeah.
Thank you. And lastly, you talked about fundraising, right? And you were saying that that you raise funds for a specific aspirant at one time. And so you are very nuanced on or informed about the barriers that these women face. So again, if one was to reach out to you, what are some support that you give aspirants or women who come to you, ElectHer, that want to run for office?
Aspirants like
So
Lois, for instance.
I think I need to use this platform to plead to women. Look, if I want to, go deeply into what we experience as an organization and, just some of the reservations that I have, we're not going to finish that conversation today. As an organization, this is an unstructured terrain. We are constantly trying to see what we can do. So I would say that we're still trying to set up our model, but what are the things that we do? For the election, we fundraised. We were able to support some women. We gave them platforms. We brought together private sector, media organizations, different people. And so for me is women need to understand that opportunity meets preparedness. And coming with a strong manifesto and meritocracy is key. The issue that I have is that for organizations like us, it is important that women do not make it difficult for us or put us in a place where we have to take a tokenistic approach and support women because they are just women. Personally, for me, and fundamentally for us as an organization, we will prioritize meritocracy over just women who are running because they are women, because we are trying to ensure that there is a shift in terms of, the governance landscape in Nigeria. So for women, I mean,
All right.
we can be reached on social media channels.
All right,
Going into the next
Ibijoke,
we're thinking about platforms for women.
like you said, once we start this
beyond
conversation, I'm not sure we would end it now. But we deeply appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much to all of our guests, Lois, Mrs. Adesanya, Ibijoke. Thank you, so much for being a part of this very pivotal conversation at this time. Thank you once again.
Thank you.